Ciao and welcome to Venice, a city like no other. Built on water, preserved in time, and steeped in mystery. For centuries, Venice has dazzled visitors with its art, architecture, and ambience. In this video, we'll explore a perfect 3-day itinerary designed to help you see the very best of La Serenissima, efficiently, affordably, and with a little dolce vita in every step. We arrived in Venice the classic way, by train. The Italo line whisked us from Florence's Santa Maria Novella station on a smooth, scenic ride through the Tuscan countryside. But stepping off the train in Venice? That was something else. Within minutes, we were swept into a flurry of humanity. Travelers, locals, luggage, and boats of every shape and size. It was organized chaos, Venetian style. But the real magic began when we reached our Airbnb, our quiet little oasis, tucked away from the city's well-worn tourist paths. Hidden among the twisting alleys and shimmering canals, this gave us a peaceful place to unwind in the Venetian hustle and bustle. Want to see for yourself? Click the link above for a tour of this wonderful space. A true home away from home in the heart of Venice. No trip to Venice is complete without a visit to its most iconic crossing, the Rialto Bridge. Spanning the Grand Canal since the late 1500s, this graceful stone arch was once the only way to cross the canal without getting your feet wet. And while it may have started as a humble wooden drawbridge centuries earlier, today it's a stone-clad showstopper lined with shops that sell everything from Murano glass to fridge magnets made in, well, probably not Murano. It was a bold architectural gamble in its day. Critics said the single-arch design would never last. But more than 400 years later, it's still standing tall, supporting tourists, shoppers, and the weight of countless gelato-fueled memories. As you stand here, surrounded by centuries of history and the gentle lapping of water below, you realize the Rialto isn't just a bridge, it's a stage, and Venice is always ready for its next act. Want the best view without the crowds? Skip the midday madness and come early, before 9 a.m., or just after sunset. You'll beat the tour groups, catch soft lighting, and your photos? Amazing! Just steps from the Rialto Bridge, tucked along the Grand Canal, sits the Fondaco dei Tedeschi, once a bustling 16th century trading post for German merchants. And today, well, let's just say the merchants now wear designer labels. This historic building has been transformed into a sleek, luxury shopping center. But upstairs, that's where the real treasure lies. Ride the escalator up to the rooftop terrace, where Venice opens up before you like a hand-painted map. From here, you'll see the curve of the Grand Canal, the rooftops of Rialto, and on a clear day, the shimmering dome of the Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute. Now, a word to the wise traveler. Access to the rooftop is free, but space is limited, so you'll need to book a time slot in advance. Don't just show up and hope for the best. This is Venice, not Vegas. It's one of the best views in the city, and with a little planning, you can enjoy it without spending €1. Just remember to bring your camera and your sense of wonder. After taking in those rooftop views at Fondaco dei Tedeschi, don't rush off. One of the true joys of Venice is simply wandering. Let the crowds go one way, and you go the other. Meander along narrow streets, cross tiny bridges, and pause to watch gondolas glide by like they're late for a date with history. Venice rewards the unhurried. Every twist and turn reveals a new view, a sunlit canal, a weathered doorway, a gondolier humming to himself. Just behind the Rialto, you'll find the Pesceria, the city's historic fish market. Come in the morning for a briny burst of local life, merchants shouting in Venetian dialect, fresh lagoon seafood on display, and a slice of real, working Venice. It's moments like this, quiet canals and the scent of the sea, where Venice reveals her soul. Day 2 begins in Venice's grandest square, Piazza San Marco. Once called the finest drawing room in Europe, this elegant space has hosted emperors, merchants, and millions of wide-eyed travelers. At its heart stands Basilica San Marco, a shimmering mosaic beneath golden domes, rich with centuries of faith and art. Step inside and you're surrounded by gold, ancient relics, and stories that stretch back 1,000 years. Inside Basilica San Marco, the light shimmers across a sea of golden mosaics. Over 8,000 square meters of glass and gold tiles telling sacred stories high above. Every inch reflects Venice's wealth and devotion, with Eastern-style domes and a floor that ripples like the tide beneath your feet. It's not just a church, it's a statement. Above the entrance, 4 bronze horses charge forward as if ready to leap into the square. But those are just replicas. The real ones, nearly 2,000 years old, are tucked safely inside the Basilica's museum. Looted from Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade, these majestic stallions once stood atop chariots in ancient arenas. Now, they rest in retirement with a view of Venice. Don't rush. Take a moment to admire the Basilica's uneven marble floors, worn smooth by centuries of pilgrims. Each slab was shipped here from across the Mediterranean. The golden light, the soaring domes, the sheer atmosphere. It's all unforgettable. But a word to the wise, book your entrance ticket in advance. The lines here can get longer than the Grand Canal on a Sunday. Upstairs in the museum, the tapestry room showcases vivid, centuries-old textiles once used to adorn the basilica on feast days. Woven sermons in silk and gold thread. Nearby, ornate vestments worn by the clergy are on display, robes so rich in detail, they blur the line between religious devotion and royal fashion. After descending the stairs of the basilica, we followed our appetites just a few steps off the square to Ristorante al Chianti. With tables nestled beneath a green awning and just enough shade to escape the midday sun, it was the perfect spot to unwind. We tucked into a wood-fired pizza, rich with local cheese, and a heaping plate of seafood pasta, fresh, briny, and straight from the lagoon. A true Venetian recharge. Okay. Just beyond Piazza San Marco stands Palazzo Ducale, or the Doge's Palace, the political and ceremonial heart of the Venetian Republic. Built in the 14th century, its lacy Gothic arches and pink marble facade once signaled wealth, power, and a city-state that ruled the seas. Inside, you'll explore grand staircases, council chambers, and the vast hall of the Great Council, once the world's largest room not supported by columns. It's part palace, part fortress, and part very well-decorated courtroom. Venice at its most majestic. We booked the secret Itineraries Tour at Palazzo Ducale, and it turned an already magnificent site into a real Venetian thriller. This isn't your typical walkthrough. Over the course of about 1 hour and 15 minutes, a specialized guide leads just 2 to 25 people through hidden corners of the palace, revealing the building's darker side. You'll also venture into the Council of 10's secret archives, visit interrogation rooms, and even walk across the Bridge of Sighs, a passage usually off limits. One more practical tip: book this tour well in advance. Tickets are limited and in high demand. And yes, the tour ticket also includes access to the rest of the Doge's Palace afterward, so you get the full story without rejoining the line. We descended into the Pozzi, damp cells barely touched by light, and climbed narrow stairs to the Piombi prison, where Casanova once plotted his great escape. If palace walls could talk, these would whisper secrets of politics, betrayal, prison breaks, and Venice's relentless pursuit of justice. Connecting the Doge's Palace to the old prison, the Bridge of Sighs is one of Venice's most haunting icons. Built in the 1600s, this enclosed limestone passage once carried prisoners from the courtroom to their cells. Legend says they sighed at their final view of Venice through the tiny stone-grilled windows, hence the name. Today it's a photo op from the outside, but if you take the secret Itineraries tour, you get to walk the same solemn path, minus the shackles. Leaving the palace, you don't just exit a museum, you step out of centuries of intrigue, ambition, and justice. Venice ruled with style, and nowhere is that more visible than here, in its grandest halls and darkest corners. Our Doge's Palace ticket also included a visit to one of Venice's most iconic landmarks, the Campanile di San Marco, or St. Mark's Bell Tower. Rising nearly 100 meters high, this red brick giant stands like a sentinel over the square. Originally built as a lighthouse in the 12th century, it's seen centuries of storms, seismic shudders, and even a total collapse in 1902. Thankfully, what you see today is a faithful reconstruction. So faithful, in fact, the Venetians proudly called it Com'era, Dov'era, as it was, where it was. There's an elevator to the top, no stairs required, and the reward? A breathtaking 360-degree view over Venice's rooftops, canals, and lagoon. From up here, you really appreciate how the city floats. A mosaic of domes, chimneys, and church spires all stitched together by shimmering water. And then there are the bells, 5 of them, each with its own historical purpose. One signaled the start of the workday, another rang for Senate meetings, and one, ominously, tolled for executions. Today they mostly chime for tradition and tourism, but up close, their silent weight still echoes with the authority of a city that once ruled an empire. Just beyond the Doge's palace, the Riva degli Schiavoni stretches out like Venice's waterfront promenade, a lively mix of tourists, artists, and souvenir stalls, all set against the glimmering lagoon. Named after Slavic merchants who once docked here with goods from the east, this bustling walkway has been Venice's front porch for centuries. And if you pause at just the right angle, look back toward the Doge's palace, and you'll spot the Bridge of Sighs, arching quietly between power and punishment. As you stroll along, soak in views of church domes, bobbing gondolas, and the distant island of San Giorgio Maggiore. Just a short stroll from St. Mark's Square, tucked into a busy little campo, stands the Chiesa di San Moisè, one of Venice's most over-the-top Baroque churches. The church is dedicated to Saint Moisè, that's Moses. And yes, this is one of the only Christian churches named after a figure from the Old Testament. Inside, it's smaller and more intimate, but still rich with ornament and golden flourishes. The highlight? A dramatic altarpiece showing Moses receiving the 10 Commandments, not something you expect to find just steps from high-end designer shops. It's a perfect Venetian surprise. Sacred history, lavish detail, and just a little theatrical flair, tucked into a corner of the city where you might otherwise just be window shopping. One of the joys of wandering Venice is that the city always surprises you. Turn a corner and you might stumble on a full-blown gondola traffic jam, oars clashing, gondoliers shouting in Italian, and tourists smiling like it's part of the ride. In Venice, even the gridlock is charming and always on water. Leaving the bustle of St. Mark's Square, Calle Larga, 22nd Marzo, offers a more fashionable side of Venice. This broad, elegant street is lined with designer boutiques, Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, and feels more Milan than medieval. But don't worry, even if you're not shopping, it's worth a stroll. Elegant facades, cafe patios, and the occasional glimpse of a quiet side canal remind you you're still in Venice, just with a bit more leather and gold stitching. For a sweet pause in our Venetian wanderings, we grabbed a table at Ristorante Le Café, just a stone's throw from the action, but relaxed enough to feel like a retreat. With the views of the square and a soft breeze off the lagoon, it was the perfect spot to people watch. We shared a plate of crepes, light, buttery, and filled with just enough indulgence to justify the vacation diet.
What kind of crepe? Oh, do you like the Nutella crepe? How many crepes have you had on this trip?
A lot.
How many is a lot?
Between the bubbles of the spritz and the chocolate crepe, we found that magical Venetian moment. doing nothing in particular and loving every second of it. While Venice is known for its stone-arched elegance, Ponte dell'Accademia is a bit of a rebel, a grand wooden bridge spanning the Grand Canal near the Gallery dell'Accademia. Originally a temporary structure built in the 1930s, Venetians loved its sweeping curve and warm texture so much it stuck around and never left. Climb to the top and you're rewarded with one of the best panoramic views in Venice, a picture-perfect stretch of the Grand Canal, framed by palazzos and punctuated in the distance by the majestic dome of Santa Maria della Salute. Whether you're here for a photo, a proposal, or just a pause, Ponte dell'Accademia delivers. It's not just a crossing, it's a moment. And in a city built on water, that kind of solid ground feels like something special. As gondolas glide beneath and artists perch with sketchbooks in hand, it's easy to see why this spot captures hearts. Venice has many bridges, but few offer a view quite like this. After the day trippers leave and the shop shutters come down, Venice transforms. The crowds fade, the canals go still, and the city takes a deep, peaceful breath. Lanterns flicker off the water, footsteps echo through empty alleys, and every corner feels like a secret waiting to be discovered. Venice after dark isn't just beautiful, it's hauntingly serene, like the city is telling you its stories in a whisper. Venice is a city best explored on foot, and often without a plan. Its narrow streets twist and turn like a living maze, where alleyways shrink to shoulder width and bridges pop up when you least expect them. Every night, as we made our way back to our Airbnb, it felt like a gentle adventure, retracing our steps through a dozen turns, past sleepy canals and shuttered shops, relying on memory, instinct, and maybe a lucky landmark or two. There's no grid here, no straight lines, just centuries of organic beauty, and somehow getting a little lost in Venice always feels like you're exactly where you're meant to be. One morning, we slipped out of our Airbnb just after sunrise, while Venice was still wiping the sleep from its eyes. The streets were hushed, the canals mirror still, and for a little while, it felt like we had the city to ourselves. No tour groups, no crowds, just the gentle sound of water lapping at stone and the occasional clack of a delivery cart. It's a side of Venice most visitors miss. Quiet, golden, and refreshingly real. If you ever want to feel like a local, or like you've time traveled back a few centuries, wake up early. Venice rewards the early riser. We spotted a lone gondola gliding silently through the canal. It was Venice at its most poetic, still, timeless, and just waking up. Just off a quiet canal is Teatro La Fenice, Venice's legendary opera house, whose name means the Phoenix. True to form, it has burned down and risen from the ashes more than once. Step inside and you're greeted by a grand golden lobby that feels more like a palace foyer than a theater. All chandeliers, velvet, and timeless charm. The ballroom at La Fenice is a gilded jewel, all mirrors, marble, and chandeliers. It's easy to picture masked aristocrats waltzing beneath the flickering candlelight, their footsteps echoing off the high ornate ceilings. Even empty, the room feels alive with old-world glamour. The Ammannati Room blends refined elegance with artistic flair, a cozy salon where velvet walls and golden trim whisper of intermissions spent in high society style. The Apollo Rooms serve as the elegant heart of La Fenice's social scene, a series of richly decorated lounges where opera-goers once mingled between acts. With gilded mirrors, stucco details, and soft lighting, they feel less like waiting rooms and more like miniature ballrooms. It's here that Venice's elite came to see and be seen, offstage and in style. The halls outside the boxes are lined with vintage playbills and portraits of opera legends, a quiet gallery of La Fenice's storied past, where every face tells a musical tale. Step into the main theater and you're immediately wrapped in pure Venetian splendor. 5 tiers of gilded opera boxes like layers on a wedding cake, each one trimmed with gold and velvet. Overhead, a grand frescoed ceiling sets the stage for drama, even before the curtain rises. It's not just a performance space, it's a masterpiece. Day 3 of our Venetian journey begins with one of the city's most striking landmarks, Santa Maria della Salute. Perched at the mouth of the Grand Canal, this grand Baroque basilica was built in the 1600s as a prayer of thanks after a devastating plague. Its elegant dome rises like a symbol of survival, a tribute to both faith and Venetian resilience. Inside, every detail speaks to the reason it was built, as a solemn vow to the Virgin Mary during one of Venice's darkest chapters. In 1630, as the plague swept through the city, Venetian leaders promised to build a church if the city was spared. When the outbreak ended, they kept that promise. The church's vast dome symbolizes divine protection, while its central altar, crowned with a statue of the Madonna, became a place of hope and remembrance for a city that had suffered but survived. The Pio Throne is a papal seat gifted to St. Pius X, once the Patriarch of Venice, by the city's diocese. It's a quiet tribute to a local priest who rose to the papacy. Just outside the church, the Fondamenta Salute offers one of the most peaceful and scenic walks in all of Venice. This quiet promenade stretches along the Grand Canal, far from the crowds, yet offering million-euro views. Across the water, you can see St. Mark's Square and the Doge's Palace, but over here it's mostly locals and the occasional artist capturing the light. In the golden afternoon glow, the domes and rooftops of Venice sparkle across the canal, while gondolas pass by in near silence. The breeze off the lagoon carries just the right amount of salt and serenity. Whether you're pausing on a bench or simply watching boats glide past, it's a moment to breathe, reflect, and fall in love with Venice all over again. If you're dreaming of a gondola ride in Venice, but not quite ready to splurge on the full 80 to 100 euros private experience, there's a local secret worth knowing: the Gondola Traghetto. For just a couple of euros, you can hop aboard one of these traditional gondolas and cross the Grand Canal, just like the locals have for centuries. Traghettos are essentially public gondola ferries. Same boat, same oars, but no serenade and no padded seats. These boats run at designated crossing points where there are no bridges nearby. One of the most popular spots is near the Rialto market, where locals, groceries in hand, step onto a traghetto for a short ride to the other side. Passengers typically stand during the crossing. Yes, even tourists. Though if you're feeling wobbly, sitting is perfectly fine. The ride lasts just a minute or two, but the feeling, pure Venice. The water rocks gently, the oar creaks in rhythm, and for a moment you're part of the everyday life of this floating city. It's quick, it's cheap, and it's one of the most authentic and overlooked experiences Venice has to offer. So if you want a gondola ride on a budget, skip the booking app and follow the locals to the traghetto. If there's one image that captures the magic of Venice, it's the iconic gondola. Sleek, black, and gliding gracefully through a quiet canal. And while it might be a bit of a splurge, a traditional gondola ride isn't just a tourist cliché, it's a front-row seat to the rhythm of Venetian life. These handcrafted boats have been part of Venice for over 1,000 years. Once used by nobles and merchants, today they serve as floating time machines, steered by expert gondoliers who know every twist and turn of the city's watery veins. Your ride begins with a gentle push from the dock. Instantly, the soundscape changes. The hum of crowds fades, replaced by the soft splash of the oar, and the occasional chow from a passing gondolier. Most routes wind through Venice's quieter back canals, where laundry flutters overhead, locals pass by on foot, and bridges arch gracefully above you. You'll pass palazzos with peeling paint and flower boxes, churches with doors just above the tide line, and maybe even a serenade if your gondolier's in the mood. A traditional gondola ride usually lasts about 30 to 40 minutes and can cost between 80 to 120 euros, depending on the time of day and whether you book ahead. Evening rides are more expensive, but the fading light and glow of lanterns make it unforgettable. Eventually, the narrow canals open onto the Grand Canal, Venice's main aquatic artery. Suddenly, the city feels grand again. You're surrounded by centuries of architecture, domes rising in the distance, and other gondolas drifting like dancers across a watery stage. Yes, it's a splurge, but like sipping wine at sunset or hearing Vivaldi in a Venetian church, it's one of those timeless experiences that stays with you. Floating through Venice, gondola style, isn't just about seeing the city, it's about feeling it. Some tips before your trip. You don't need to book weeks ahead. Most gondoliers operate independently and take walk-ups all day. That said, if you want a sunset ride, have a specific route in mind, or you're planning a romantic surprise, it's smart to book in advance through a reputable service like Get Your Guide, Viator, or your hotel concierge. Each gondola holds up to 5 passengers. Price is set per boat, not per person. Want longer than 30 minutes? You can negotiate more time, but do it before you get in. Before hopping in, ask the gondolier where the ride will go. Some stick to short loops in busy areas, while others offer routes through hidden canals, under tiny bridges, and out onto the Grand Canal. The good ones are happy to customize. Most gondoliers don't take cards, so bring cash in euros, preferably in exact change or close to it. The gondolier may hum or chat with you, but singing isn't included in the price. If you want music, you'll need to request it in advance, and pay extra for a musician to ride along. When the skies opened up in Venice, we did what any smart traveler would do. Ducked into a cafe, ordered a couple of glasses of wine, and let the rain tap out its rhythm on the awning. In a city like this, even a rainy day has charm. Unfortunately, our final day in Venice has arrived, and like the last page of a great book, it's hard to say goodbye. The bells still ring, the gondolas still glide, and the canals shimmer just as beautifully. At 4 a.m., Venice was still asleep as we stepped onto our private water taxi. A sleek wooden boat, polished and quiet, like something out of a Bond film. Yes, it's pricey, around 120 euros for the ride. But in that peaceful pre-dawn silence, gliding through the canals under flickering lanterns, it felt like a farewell fit for royalty. As the city faded into the mist behind us, we knew this was money well spent. Venice is a city like no other, a place that stays with you long after you've left. We hope this itinerary helped you fall in love with La Serenissima, just like we did. If you enjoyed the journey, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't miss our other Italy videos, including Florence and Rome. Until next time, keep traveling thoughtfully and always pack a little curiosity.